You may not be a dancer, Jermal. You are a trader. And that is
am.
why we have you here on the show, not for his dancing skills or for his allegiances to suspect baseball squads like the Chicago Cubs, but he's a damn good trader in the options world. We're bringing Jermal into the futures world, has yet to trade a futures. We might change that as soon as like next week. We're figuring the stuff out behind the scenes to get Jermal a Tasty Trade trading account. You're going to be able to follow his journey through the Tastyworks platform and through the network here and the Leap as well. Now, I titled this segment Trading Futures for Dummies. Jermal, you are no dummy. I am not by any means calling you a dummy. I just want to create an environment today whereby we can make trading futures as simple as possible for the dummies out there, not you. Dummy in the MLB sphere, maybe.
See, I knew you were going to go.
In trading, not so much. But what do you think about today, man? Can we make this as simple as trading for dummies? Maybe have you ever picked up a For Dummies book before?
So it's funny you say that because absolutely, that's why I took no offense to it. When I first got into options and I was trying to figure it out, I picked up an Options for Dummies book for sure. And they're, I think they got the market cornered on that type of stuff, right? Like, yeah. It's for those who are sensitive, get past it. And, those are interesting books and they lay it out so simple. And I've always been that kind of person. Like, I don't care how complex something is. Let's start from the very simple and work our way up. So I'm pretty sure this is the idea of what we're doing here.
And what I love about those books is they do it in like, it is at the end of the day a textbook, but they do it kind of the opposite of the way textbooks do it, which is like if you're reading For Dummies, it's usually very practical. And that's what we're trying to do today. Like, I don't want to teach about, and we don't want to talk about futures like, oh, it's a contract and like the term structure. We reference that, but it's not really built into our trading. So let's talk about it from a practical point of view. And before we actually click the button, I want to bring to your attention today's example, and I want to put the mood ring on Jermal, figure out what type of dude he is by simply saying, what do you think of a market that's at its lowest since 1990 and miles away from its average? We got the small 2-year yield here, 18 basis points in yield. Historical average since the 90s, about 300 basis points or 3 full percentage points. What does a chart like this tell you? If this is a Rorschach test or a mood ring, are you buying or selling?
So it's funny. I almost wish you didn't tell me what it was at the end. Just you had me at the beginning because it's a great idea actually. Any person worth their salt or any type of trader, you hear those words that you said. It's at its lowest in 30 years and it's miles away from its average. I'm immediately I want to buy. Like I think if there's some type of mean reversion that could happen backwards, going towards up. So I'd be interested in buying.
So this is me putting the small exchange sorting hat on Jermal, and it says he's a contrarian. He's a contrarian, everybody. And so, you could be a trend follower, contrarian, whatever suits you, if you want to dance, you want to be a Cubs fan, White Sox fan, whatever, at the end of the day, you can bet on either side of the market. But we have now Jermal's point of view, which is historical low. He likes the buy. He doesn't like the kind of trend following doomsday trade. And so if we were looking at that, before you click that button, a margin will pop up in most platforms, Tastyworks included, and it'll say to you, here's the capital requirement. And most places will also say, here's the size of the trade or the risk. Are you comfortable, Jermal, with a market that is worth $180 and costs you and could move $60 or more? Those are the current numbers for the S2Y product.
So we're saying, okay, this is 180, but cost me 60 and it could move another 60, you're saying? So I could get 100% ROC?
So $60 with futures margin, I always view them with a duality, which is it is the capital required for me to trade. Yep. Also, it's a great measure of how much this market could move for or against me. So yeah, good point of view. Like if I buy it, then I could expect in my favor for it to move $60, which would be 100% return on capital. Before getting into all of those returns and before even getting the trade on, I always think about, and I always implore people to think about before buying or selling a futures market, is that product size off-putting to you, $180? And is that margin, the fact that it could move $60 in your favor, that's what we want, 100% return on capital, but also could move $60 against you. Is that an amount of risk you're comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with that. I mean, those numbers, I'm comfortable with those numbers, I'd say.
Yeah, because you look at other traditional futures markets that people tend to get into, one of the most popular being the E-mini S&P future, which I guarantee my man Jermal has seen before. Have you not?
Yes, sir, I have.
I like how this has turned into like a deposition. I'm like a lawyer or something. Jermal, have you seen the E-mini S&P future? Answer yes or no right now.
I don't recollect off the top of my head, but or I could do this deposition like in Social Network, the way that when dude was playing Zuckerberg, that was fantastic. Wait, $60, 180. Yes, I just want to check that math. Correct.
Oh man, yeah. Now he becomes the smart aleck, the Zuckerberg. I forget who that actor is, but yeah, he is
That's
really good at
Eisenberg, I think, or something like that.
He's, I'm sure, a great guy, very punchable kind of personality in these movies. It's like, man, that guy is very punchable if I saw him at a bar. Anyways, I'm glad that you've seen the mini S&P, because as it rests right now, that's a product that's, I think, over $200,000 in size, and costs you, I'm almost positive, more than 10 grand to trade. I don't like either of those numbers.
Yeah,
I don't like those numbers for beginners.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. That's too much.
That's not a great place to start. I love this place to start here. So we got the Rorschach test going. He's in-house contrarian. He's comfortable with the margin and the product size. I think it's the smallest future, honestly, that exists out there, $180. You'd be hard-pressed to find a smaller futures market. Does buy or sell reflect where you think this market is headed? Now, it might sound like a trick question, okay? So like on the pop quiz or what have you, this is one of those that like, is Frank trying to mess with me here? Does buy or sell reflect where you think the market is going? Go.
Well, I guess the caveat is what month are we talking about? Right? Like especially for the 2-year. I mean, how, what's the forecast? What am I really thinking? I don't know if we're going to see a meaningful rise in 2-year rates over, by May or June, right? So now we got to think about what month would we interested in buying as far as futures go.
I love this. This is first of all, answering a question with a question, always good. You flip the script there. It's like we're at a job interview and it's like, Jermal, what do you bring to the company? It's like, what the hell does the company do for me, boss? What's going on here? But anyways, you bring a great question up, and this is something that's really relevant in Eurodollar futures, which I actually love, but as an interest rate tool, more complex. That being said, Eurodollars have 4 monthly expirations every year for like the next decade. And so Jermal's question, very relevant for that, because that's like, am I buying interest rates for this month or for June of 2022 or for December of 2023? Different trades here. With the small 2-year futures and small exchange futures in general, we don't get caught up in the calendarization. So it would just be like, think as if you're going to have this exposure on until you don't want it. Yes. So like you're going to either buy or sell this market. You already said you think it's going to go higher. You're going to now buy or sell based off of that opinion. And if the May expiration comes up, we're just taking for granted that we're rolling it and we're keeping this exposure going. So do you buy or sell with that kind of mentality?
I'll buy.
There we go, baby. So he's so close there. He's got the idea, the product. He's comfortable with it. Futures are as simple as you want it to go higher. You buy it. It's that easy. And now the last thing to do is send the darn order. And this is, I love this, man. This is we're really working in tandem today. We're doing very well here on Thursday afternoon. This is the last thing, Jermal, and I want you to maybe end on what this last point is, getting over that hump means for, like, the first time you trade stocks, the mentality going into it is like, man, this is kind of scary. And then you do it once or twice or a handful of times, and in no time you're like, oh yeah, like I could do this all day long. The same with options. Like the first time you have the mouse hovered over that set button, it's like, oh man, this is This is earth shattering. This is like going to change my life. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, oh yeah, sell 50 at one. Like you know exactly what's going on. So take us home here. You've got your market. You're comfortable with the margin. You got your buy order. That's what you want to do. Now take us home, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's good learning all of the things that go into the trade. And I think that's what we've set up so far here, understanding the amount of margin it's going to take for whatever product I choose off the top. And the big part is eventually hitting that send button. So for me, whether it's 2-year or like, Pete and I talked about the other day, he asked me, what's the thing that I'm interested in trading right now? And I'm thinking it's probably going to be SPRE. Cool. I'm thinking the metals are somewhat of an interesting trade right now, and I can just speculate in any way. Don't have any other, metal positions on, but, eventually whether it's just using that future to speculate or, queuing it up along with some, GLD or SLV, like, options as well. So to try to keep a little portfolio of that, it's nice to know that I can work all that together.